While we're in the new day and age of dating, technology, which acts as a third party through the apps or social media, um, it makes it so convenient to have access to many different people at your fingertips. And I think now is a great time to review some safety tips as it pertains to that. Hi, my name is Dr. Natalie Jones. I'm a licensed therapist. Happy Monday, everybody. And one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about is the sense of familiarity as it relates to online dating through the apps or through social media. And just a quick reminder that, texting someone is not dating. Voice notes are not dating. Those are things that are not dating. And I think it's important and messages on the apps are not dating either. And I think it's important to remind people of that because sometimes people will hop on the apps and what they will do is they will gain a pen pal. And without actually going out on a date, and because they do that, that gives them a sense of familiarity of, hey, I actually know this person, or we talk pretty regularly. Even though we've never actually met in person, we talk good morning, good night, that kind of stuff. And that does not a relationship make. I don't care how long you do it. That does not make a relationship. That does not define a relationship. That person is still a stranger to you. And I think this is important to review because of the controversy around the viral voice note. When it comes to things like that, and I can't tell people what to do because you're adults, or I'm assuming you are if you're listening to me, right? But one of the things that you should be especially careful about is inviting a stranger into your home that you don't know. And sometimes, again, people do this when they felt comfortable. What we've been messaging for a week or two, maybe even 3 or 4, or maybe even a little bit longer, give or take. And so I feel like I know this person because we've kind of gone back and forth. Maybe we've talked on the phone a few times. You might want to sprinkle that in there. But for our first date, second date, or any time within the first 6 months of dating, I'm allowing this stranger into my home and into my personal space when I don't know too much about him. And that should be a red flag and a no-no, because what that does is that becomes, a person's dream if they have no place to stay, if they are mentally unstable, if that is their dream to be invited and know all about your personal environment. If they steal, all this kind of stuff. But a stranger in your home is not never a good idea. You have to vet a person, and get to know them and see if you're compatible. And that needs to be outside of the home. You don't want to have them cooking, at your place and this and that and other. Keep strangers out of your home until you've been vetted properly. We've gone out, we've done a number of things, and we're cool like that. But your home should be your sacred space. It should be your protected space because once you introduce someone to your home environment, it's very hard to revoke access. And so, and even if you've known somebody and you guys have dated for years, you could still never know. But be particularly careful as it relates to strangers in terms of allowing visitors, allowing people to show up at a certain time or come over even at a certain time, right? Because if you've never met and this person is coming over at 9 p.m., what do you think is happening, right? And of course, there can certainly be exceptions, but those exceptions do not outweigh typical behavior. A lot of times, if people are coming over super late and this is our first encounter with you, the expectation is we might be getting physical. At any rate, when people come into your home, you know, um, and they don't know you, they do feel like they have access to you. And for someone who you don't know or you haven't vetted, and they may feel entitled, or they may have some other challenges, substance use, other problems, instability, incompatibility. You don't want them knowing where you live, um, before you have vetted them. I think there was like a TikTok. I don't know if it was last year, or it might have been last year or the year before, where a woman was living in an apartment complex and a man showed up. They had went out on one date, and he showed up at her apartment, like, I don't know, like a year or two later. He just like popped up and was like, "You don't remember me? You don't remember me?" And she opened the door, which I wouldn't recommend doing that either. And I think I actually did a post on that last year, but that's the kind of stuff that can tend to happen when people know where you live and know about your space. But you always want to be careful who you allow in. You don't know anyone's history of violence, even if maybe you've looked them up on some court website. Everybody's not always turned in, everybody's not always arrested. So just be careful with your safety, with your home, and with your boundaries, and keep things like that separate, particularly, if you have children. So I feel like there should be an added layer if you are a parent, and especially if you've got young kids, little kids, or even teenagers. Really, you need to, or anyone who's vulnerable in your home. Really, you want to be extra careful with that. People do pay attention, and people do try to come back and exploit those things for their own personal gain. And they may even fake a relationship with you to even have access to that. So I hope this helps. Let me know what you guys think. Like, comment, follow, and share. And until next time, you guys take care of yourselves and be well.